Welcome, folks, to Wake Up Call. I'm your producer and host, Al Wilson. Okay, coming right down to the wire here, folks. President Barry Soetoro, known to most of you as Barack Obama, that was his real name when he was working for Murder Incorporated, the organization comprised initially entirely of Nazi spies, at which time they took over the United States, now called the Central Intelligence Agency, who even in a court of law was found guilty of assassinating John F. Kennedy, but they had control over the media, life or death. You know, they murder people at a drop of a hat. That's why they're proud to call themselves Murder Incorporated. That's why they say, give us the coroner and we will control the town. But at any rate, they now pull everybody's strings. But Barry Soetoro has done about 24 executive orders. Executive orders are dictatorial powers initially set up by, I think it was Abraham Lincoln, but only to buy little things for, little in and odd and ends and end things for little expenses for like meals and banquets for foreign dignitaries and whatnot. Individuals wanting to take over this country and crush freedom of choice and freedom of conscience have expanded that power to it bypasses Congress. There doesn't even need to be a Congress. If they don't do what Murder Incorporated wants them to do, then Barry Soetoro simply does an executive order and bypasses them, and then they pay for their disobedience. I believe that's why both houses of Congress almost unanimously passed the National Defense Authorization Act that allows them to kidnap without charges, only on so-called suspicion, which can be anything or nothing at all other than that you're a good citizen or someone like me blowing the whistle on them. Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro, is said to be very viciously hostile against whistleblowers. A whistleblower that revealed that there was torture being done is in jail now, and not the torturers, the whistleblower trying to see the justice and that the laws are obeyed. The internet, apparently, one of the executive orders, which, by the way, another thing about executive orders is forbidden for the news media to give the details of it. So it's secret and it's dictatorial, all-powerful. Apparently, he has given control to censor the internet here in America to foreign enemy powers, mostly Russian and Chinese, of the United Nations. Now, one expert believed that the reason they chose a black man to be president this time, I mean, it was arranged all from the get-go. The vote count machines are actually computers, so they can be programmed what to arrive at, regardless of what's really there. But of course, that's why Murder Incorporated erases the vote counts from the computer network so that it can't be recounted. But as their final thing, if it's discovered that it's all falsified anyway, which has been attested to by multiple people in the polling places and saying, hey, there's no way they could have finished the count this fast. We hadn't even turned in our vote count boxes. And then other vote count boxes disappeared, and, it's nuts. But in any case, so it's all prearranged, even like in the case of George Bush and his seventh cousin, John Kerry. By the way, Barack Obama is said to be related to the first black slave to die in captivity in America. Maybe that's why he loves America so much. But then again, he's also blood kin, according to Vice President Dick Cheney's wife, who was doing a genealogy study. And her book said she was shocked to find that Barack Obama is actually related to Vice President Cheney and also George W. Bush, which if George W. Bush is related to John Kerry, another billionaire oil man, I guess he would be related to him too, but maybe not. I'm not sure about that part of it. But in any case, the high presidential offices seem to, in recent years, all be people who are interrelated. Interesting. All by coincidence, I'm sure. I'm sure none of them knew they were related. Only Cheney's wife knew. None of the rest of them knew. But apparently they're planning to collapse the economy as a rationale to take away guns, which is always done in an emergency. In case of, before, taking away guns. But you better stock up on food. I'd say something cheap and that doesn't spoil is top ramen. You might get sick eating it, but at least it'll keep you alive for a while. I'd have a water purifier so you can purify your own water, so to speak, if you have to, or polluted water. There's some good high, volume, some thorough, long-lasting water purifiers. But I suggest you might get one. They're not cheap, but come in very handy. You see, one of the experts was saying that I think the reason why that they wanted Barry Toro as president was because then it would set the stage for Jeb Bush, who's being primed to be president. That'll only happen if a larger calamity that's set to strike is not diverted by some super high-tech types. You might say distant cousins to the human race, but very real. In fact, some of them walk around among us and you wouldn't know them from, than if this was their home planet. But in any case, these guys have the technology to make this, was it ISIS, whatever, something that's due right around October, November of this year, maybe not have such a horrendous effect. But if not, if enough people don't pray and request to these people, just in your mind, they have a recorder that records your thoughts, to ask them to intervene to prevent this. They're calling it a comet. It's actually a planet from wasting our butts. Then please do ask them, and maybe they'll maybe the organization of other planets, whatnot, will say, okay, well in that case, if you're being asked to, then you have the right to intervene in their behalf. Maybe, I don't know what criterion they go by. So, but at any rate, you can't count on that. But as in the case of New Orleans, they knew that they were paying Russia to send a hurricane to New Orleans, and then that 3 U.S. Navy underwater explosives were going to be used to blow up the levee to cause that calamity, and then that Halliburton, the vice president's company, would buy up all that valuable oil land for pennies on the dollar. Well, likewise, they're not going to risk an emergency happening and you're not being willing to give up your guns. That'd still make it too hard to take you to the death camps already constructed for you. So, no, they don't plan to show your children mercy either. They have 3 separate colored lines, one for you, one for your wife, and one for your children. The psychology of splitting you up is they're thinking they want you to believe, they lead you to believe what you want to believe, that maybe your wife or your children are going to be shown mercy. No. So, as even Ron Paul said, and I agree with him on this, is that it's the line in the sand. It's the last, confiscate weapons, that's it. Obama was said by one person, said they saw something on TV where he looked like the devil himself, just an evil thing. Says, I don't need, Congress to take your guns. He's talking about executive orders. He's got the backing of foreign enemy powers. When you wonder why the Secret Service and some elements of the FBI and big elements of the CIA are so mean and wanting to rumble and are just wanting to pick a fight, they hate America with a passion. And the CIA actually was paid by them to plan America's downfall in think tanks. So the Central Intelligence Agency is assisting in our downfall after having planned it. So they took one of the people that worked for them, a black man, who I think the reason why it's really that they wanted a black man this time is because they figured they got to make sure that people hate the black man so much that they won't trust any other black people, because America's best chance is that the black people and the white people, who are more alike than any 2 other races of people, pull together against all these foreign enemy soldiers that they insist on leaving the bound, the southern border open, these aren't just people coming in, Mexican citizens. These are people coming from Central and South America, mixed in with a lot of Chinese. The reason they're leaving the border open is because it's part of the multi-billionaires. I mean, the people like Rockefeller and his third cousin Rothschild of London, of the Rothschild Money Trust, whose original name was Bear, which was a Nazi family. Of course, the Catholic Church helped finance the Nazis too, but they hate any freedom of choice. They absolutely hate your being able to defend yourself from any tyranny. In fact, part of the original master plan to overthrow the world and whatnot said, a couple of things I remember from it, it said from greed, from want. In other words, they cannot escape. You get people caught up with greed. Then you pay them to do whatever, and they just can't get enough money. It's a sickness. It's an addiction, as much as any drug is. Another thing was that they were going to break up the United States into 5 separate water regions. Notice they're using the HARP technology to cause drought. And they're prepping for some severe earthquakes in the United States to actually split it up physically into 3 parts. But I guess they're expecting to have 6 water regions. Don't know what the timetable is on that. But the thing is, this ISIS or whatever it is coming around October, November, unless it's interfered with by some super high-tech types, and by the way, we're much, much higher tech than the humanity is, if you call Nazi scientists humanity, and the Black Ops projects of the NASA Black Ops end of it, they're extremely, beam you aboard Scotty and faster than the speed of light, teleportation, multidimensional travel. Even Barry Soetoro took place in some of that type high-tech stuff. But in any case, they might be planning on pulling the wool down at the end of this month, March. Apparently, it looks like they're not going to reach a budget agreement. They've even gone so. What really makes me suspicious is they've gone to the trouble of saying, "Oh, we've settled it. It's going to be good till further into the year." But no, that's only if the Senate approved it, and they're not going to do that. So it looks like there's going to be a government shutdown at the end of this month. People are the lie, the trick to take away your guns didn't it raise flags. It caused the opposite effect. So they're speeding up. They can't stand the chance of it being too dangerous for them to come haul you away. But you need food. You need water. And if they come for your guns, if they take a gun away, then they'll just take you away right afterwards. Now, they've deputized, just in the last week or so, I understand they've begun the process already now, what they've long had planned of deputizing street gang members to go door to door to do the more dangerous job of disarming you door to door. Then the UN soldiers, mostly Russian and Chinese, will just kill the gangbangers. But they intend to use them first to do the more dangerous job of kicking down your door and taking whatever you own, anything of value, your rings, who knows, the gold fillings out of your mouth or whatever. And then the UN soldiers will kill them and get your bank account and your real estate, etc. Then I presume someone else will kill them. But in any case, it's all one big web of deceit and treachery unfolding. Now, there's lots of easy solutions to any problems we have, but they're being blocked by people like Rockefeller and their third cousin Rothschild in London, which is, I think, the critical link between the New World Order, Fourth Reich, as they call it,